In the last 2.5 years, I've gone from literally zero to being able to pump for more than 5 minutes consistently, to being able to rock start, beach start, and do other cool things on foil. And during my journey, I've documented every single lesson I learned. And this long, massive video contains all the best and most effective videos that I posted in these last years. This is not a normal video. This is a very, very long video, but I do genuinely believe that if you go through it, through all of it, it's gonna take a while, but if you do so, you're gonna have all the tools you need to go from zero to advanced foiler. Again, this video contains the best videos I made so far. I carefully selected them with very specific intentions, and I crafted this big video. So enjoy it, and I will see you in the first clip. Yesterday I came here at the beach with my board and my ladder, and literally the same board, the same ladder, the same position, same everything, same spot. Yesterday I wasn't able to do anything. I was barely able to get on the board and glide for 10 meters, not even 5. Today I probably did 100 meters a couple of times. And the only thing that changed are my beliefs. Literally, probably the most important part when it comes to pump foiling, it's not the board, okay? You shouldn't try with a fucking kite foil, and you shouldn't try to beach start if you are not even capable of dock start. But on top of that, literally the most important thing are the beliefs. Yesterday I came here and I was like, okay, I will try, but I will not be able to do anything because my board is not good, my foil is cheap, my stabilizer is too small, my ladder is shit, blah blah blah, and I wasn't able to do anything. Today I came here and I said to myself, okay, my board is just perfect, my foil is perfect because it is 1800, what do we need more? My ladder is perfect, is the perfect height, is the perfect length, the spot is perfect, is sandy, there is a little breeze, there are no waves, and I'm able to do so because I'm doing it since 2 years, almost 1.5 years. Okay, I wasn't consistent with it, but for sure in these years I did probably 1,000 trial, 1,000 jump from the dock or from the ladder or from whatever. So yeah, I should be able to do so, and I did, and I am. I can do it just by changing my beliefs. Okay, it's stupid to buy a board, buy a foil, get on the water and think that you can do it straight away if you didn't even wing foil or kite foil or something in your life. But literally, if you have the right gear, not the perfect gear, the right gear, if you have a good ladder or a good dog, if the spot is kind of okay, and if you change your beliefs, if you truly believe that it's possible and that you can do so, you can literally become a pump foiler in 2 weeks. You just need that, and of course you need consistency and discipline, because you have to be ready to not to quit even if you not succeed. That's it. Consistency, beliefs, and mental strength to not give up. As simple as that.
Okay, listen, most of these things are absolutely unsexy, but do them, and it's gonna take you a few months to learn palm foiling. Not just like I did, and it took me 2 years. It's not gonna be simple, but trust me, it's 100% worth it. You know what they're saying about surfing? You know that it frees up your mind. You can find your balance. The sea, the waves, and that's cool. But imagine surfing without the problem of waiting for the perfect wave, right? That's what pump foiling is about. Getting into pump foiling means that you're free, because you can pump in any condition. You can practice the sport in every condition. If there are some waves, yes, you can. Maybe you have some experience, so it's not a problem for you to just go out there, pump a bit, and catch some swells. If there are no waves, just like now, it's super flat, no worries. You can still go and have fun. And there are so many things to learn that, just like in all the other sports, it's a never-ending journey. And that's the beauty, that's the thing. Because the fun is actually learning. So enjoy the process, especially the first part is the best one, trust me. Because there are so many things to learn. It's confusing, yes, but if you break the things down and you learn one thing at a time, it's gonna be easier, and you're gonna learn faster, and it's gonna be totally worth it. Trust me. So watch this video until the end and subscribe for more tips. It's not gonna take a week. It's not gonna take 2 weeks. It's not gonna take a month probably. It's probably gonna take a few months or even a year. And it's totally okay. Are you in a rush? Yes, I can understand that you can't wait to ride those waves or whatever, but trust me, again, the beauty is the process, so don't rush into things. And go step by step. Don't try to do everything as fast as possible. Don't try to ride the smaller foil that you can find in the market. Don't try to go out there in the worst condition ever. No. Slow down, think about what you have to say, learn the basics, practice on land, which is, by the way, another step, but go slowly and enjoy the process. Don't rush into things. For me, it was a completely solo journey. I was in Italy, I was going to the dock with the wrong foil, and I was practicing. Everybody was watching because it was summer, bloody summer in a lake in Italy, so it was super, super crowded. It was kind of embarrassing, actually. I was getting nowhere. After even a few months, I couldn't get any result, any. So it was embarrassing, it was frustrating, because I really wanted to prove wrong all the people saying that it was impossible. But I couldn't, because I was using the wrong gear, which, by the way, is another step. But the point is that try to find someone to get in this journey with. That's gonna be game changer, believe me. Sometimes you will feel like not going to the dock, because nothing is working, because you are demotivated. And when you have someone on your side that can tell you, come on bro, we've got to do that, it's so much easier. And then I don't want to make too much spoilers about the other points of this video, but when you have someone to pump with, this is someone, maybe even if it's just at your same level, can give you valuable tips, because maybe you cannot spot your own mistakes. Sometimes, more often than not, actually, we're blind to our own mistakes. I talked about this a lot, I know, but it's because it's important. Of course, we want to be versatile riders at some point in our journey, but that's not the goal at the beginning. The goal at the beginning is to make things as simple as possible. It's already hard enough on its own. It's already hard even if we break down the movement and we disassemble the movement and we learn one thing at a time. So we don't have to complicate our lives further. Okay? So what is the perfect dock? In my opinion, there are two ways to learn it. Okay? It depends on the docks that you have available next to your house, because the most important thing probably is to pick the dock which is closest to your house, because this way you reduce the friction. Again, you're gonna reach some points where you don't really feel like going to the dock, and if you have to drive half an hour to go to the perfect dock, to go to a dock, to go to a pond, whatever, it's just added friction that you don't really want to add. You want to make it as simple as possible to go to the dock and start a session. And the way you do that is by picking the best, closest dock that you can find. There are two kind of docks that I would suggest to start from. You either want to learn with the drop start, the reverse drop start, the inverted drop start from Yvon Labart, either the dock start as I teach you in this channel. So if you scroll down into my past videos, you will find loads of tutorials on the dock start. And essentially the most important thing, in my opinion, is to make 2 steps and to keep your hands on the pad until both your feet are on it. In my opinion, this way is much easier, not only to learn it, but also to learn the other starts further in your journey. So if you're learning with the dock start, you want a low dock, like around 30 to 40 centimeter above the surface, and nothing underneath. So the dock must be either floating, either have some pillars, but kind of far away from each other, so that you really have at least 2 meters underneath the dock to place your front wing and then run to gain some speed before jumping. And if, on the other hand, you're learning with the drop start, again, it's way easier if you have an overhang dock. Okay, it should be higher, like around 80 to 90 centimeter. I mean, longer than your mast. That will be perfect, so that you can keep your foil a bit above the surface, so that you can really gain some momentum. You can really give some speed to the foil before you jump on it. But again, if you have an overhang, you can keep your foil closer to you, because you can put the tail underneath the dock. And it's gonna be easier to throw the foil precisely and to jump on it with your feet in the right spot. I know you're sick of hearing me talking about the perfect gear, the perfect foil, the perfect setup, the fuse, but it's important. What are you gonna do? Many people don't agree with me, but I don't really believe that mid-aspect foils are the best to learn with. Okay, maybe they are more stable, but they are so clumsy to pump. So why would you learn, to pump these clumsy foils and then you switch to a high aspect foil and then it's completely different? So, okay, I'm not saying that you have to start with these sticks, okay? But still, not even with these circles, right? You know what I mean? But yeah, one thing at a time. Starting from the board. I'm using an 80 centimeter board. Okay, maybe you might want to start with something a bit bigger, around 90 to 95 centimeters. It's gonna be a bit easier, a bit more permissive. You have more room to play with, to place your feet nicely, according to your posture, according to your foil, whatever. The mast. Now, the shorter, the easier. So if you're starting with an 85 mast, it's not gonna be simple. Maybe you have an 85 mast because you are winging or you are into something else. But if you can get a shorter mast, that's probably beneficial. But at the same time, don't buy a mast just to pump. And if you're used to an 85 centimeter mast and you're probably a good wing foiler, it's probably going to be easier to stick to your setup, because that's what you are most comfortable with. But if you're starting from scratch and you don't want to change your gear every few months and you want something that will last even forever, I would recommend to go for a carbon mast and around 75 to 80 centimeter, because in my opinion that's the sweet spot. Because it's not that hard to drop start, it's not that hard to beach start and to rock start, but at the same time you have more room to play with if you want to ride some waves or if you want to, get into something else. Because at some point, trust me, even if you right now you just want to go further, go far, you just want to pump in flat water, believe me, sooner or later you will want to ride waves to try something else, to try something new, probably with the wind as well. And in my opinion, the mast is the one thing where you don't have to save money. Because, listen, you're gonna change the front wing, for sure. You're gonna change the tail, for sure. You're gonna change the fuse, most probably. You're gonna change the board, yes. But why would you change the mast? There is no really reason, right? If you're sticking to the same sports, why would you change the mast? And the mast is not gonna break. Maybe you're gonna hit the front wing, maybe you're gonna destroy your tail, but it's very unlikely that you're gonna destroy your mast. So just spend some money for a decent mast right away. And don't think that you're not gonna like the sport or something, because you will like it. There is no way that you will not like it. And there are people who are saying like, What's the reason? What's the purpose of this sport? You're just jumping on a board. What the fuck are you talking about? Just go out there, try it, and then you will come back later and tell me what you think about. And then for what concerns the rest of the setup, we want something stable. So a longer fuse, not crazy long, not these fuse made for wind foiling, not that's not what we want, but around something around 70 centimeters, something like that. Then also a big enough tail, again, not these giant, massive 60 centimeter wingspan rear stabs, no, but something around 50 to 40 to even 35 centimeter, which is not too thick and is not also doesn't have too much short cord, how it's called. And yes, the front wing must have a good area, a good surface, but also a good thickness and a good volume, because we need low end speed, because most probably at the beginning you will not be efficient. We are never efficient at the beginning. Even in the dog start, even if we run like crazy, we are never gonna be super light during our landing, so we're gonna lose some height and some speed. We are not gonna have speed. That's why we need a foil, a front wing, with a very good low end. So something thick, something around 2 centimeter thick. This is probably the most underrated thing. Nobody does it. I mean, someone does it unconsciously. But trust me, it's probably the best thing that you can do. You have to visualize yourself succeeding. You have to study the techniques through the pump foil guide, the first link in the description for free. And then you have to visualize yourself doing that movement. You have to visualize yourself succeeding. Do you know what is mental rehearsal? Rehearsal. My English is so bad. It's that technique that athletes, top tier athletes, are using to succeed better when they're performing, to perform better. They are essentially visualizing themselves succeeding. They repeat the drill in their minds, and that's exactly what we have to do to learn pump foiling fast too. This is another super boring, unsexy thing, but it is crucial. Trust me. It's gonna save you 2, 3, 4, even 6 months. And it's a matter of, you don't have to practice on land until you die. No, you just have to practice on land 1, 2 weeks maybe before getting into the dock for 20 to 30 minutes a day, which is not crazy, nothing crazy. Can you do that? Do that. Yes, you can, and do that, because it's gonna save you so much time. Just think about it, right? Okay, this is a super complicated movement. It's something that we've never done. It's not like jumping or walking or running that we know how to do that, and we could do it in every condition. Okay, these are movements that we've never done, so we have to practice them in a more comfortable environment, such as the land, because we are land animals, right? Kind of. We can fly now and we can swim, but our main environment is the land. So if we practice these movements in a comfortable environment, it's going to be easier, much easier to replicate them in the water. So practice on land first, right? My videos are usually getting anything between 1K views to up to 7, 8, even 9K. But there is one single video that performed so bad in the last period, and it's kind of sad, because it's probably one of the most important videos that I've done in this channel, and it's about stretching. Again, it's super boring, it's super unsexy. I don't need to stretch. I don't need to. What are you talking about? Just speak to any other person, individual, who's very good at some water sport, and he will tell you the importance of stretching. Why in surfing they are talking so much about stretching, and we are never talking about stretching in pump foiling or in wing foiling? It's as important. So after you finish this video, just go into stretching, just type Gael Daniele stretching, and you will find that video, and watch it, please. And it's a matter of implementing this super simple basic training for 10 to 15 minutes a day. And it's not just for pump foiling. Trust me, when you stretch, your life will change completely. I'm a big fan of David Goggins. I'm not sure if you've read his book, but he mentions that he was almost dying, literally, because he wasn't stretching. And then he stretched and he healed from his weird sickness. This is so bloody easy, and it's gonna change your life. Just grab your phone, put it on a tripod, even on your shoe, whatever, but record yourself. Not just to share your journey, which is fantastic, but because we have to act, assess, and adjust. So we have to, okay, study, act, assess, and adjust. Study the techniques, right? Go out there and practice them, first on land and then into water. Record yourself so that you can assess after the session what you did good, what you did wrong, maybe your feet placement was completely off, okay? And then you have to adjust. So in the following day, the following session, you know what you did wrong, most probably. And if you couldn't spot your mistakes yourself in your recording, you can easily send your recordings to someone else. For example, me. So just if you feel like, send me your recordings and I will probably be able to spot your mistakes at this point. Not because I'm super good, I'm the top tier pump foiler, absolutely not. But because I've got some experience and with the community and with these videos, I think I can somehow teach and fix mistakes. Because this is, by the way, the next most important thing, number 9, which is ask for help. Because yes, maybe you're alone, maybe you have even someone to pump with, but maybe you are at the same level. It's so important to refer to someone who has some experience, who is further in your journey. Really, believe me, I did it myself. I really changed the way I pump foils after having conversations in Zurich with people better than me. That's how it works. You should have a mentor. You should always have a mentor to help you out in this journey. And by the way, if you're watching this video, it probably means that you are at the beginning of your journey. And if you reach this point, it probably means that you care about what I have to say. And I just decided that I really want to help people at a deeper level, and I want to give lessons to teach people how to pump foil, not only with these videos, not only with my videos on my Instagram, but real life, like face to face, because I just realized that I love that. So if you're interested in having some lessons, I will fly out or I will fly you to Cyprus and we're gonna have some sessions together, okay? The 10th, the last and probably the most important is never stop practicing and learning. Not just because learning is the best part, it's the only fun part, because when you're not learning, what else are you doing? Nothing, right? So it's not just because of that, because listen, in the last period I've practiced a lot of starts. I wanted a super sharp rock start, even with the smaller foils. I wanted the beach start, I wanted the reverse drop start. And I was also focused on recording these reels, so I was making these 1 minute, 1.5 minute round trips around the rock, but I wasn't really pumping far. And after a few months, I just realized that my long distance pumping got so much worse. So never stop practicing and never stop training everything, because if you completely stop training a specific part of pump foiling, you will forget it. You will become bad at it. Okay, so just keep everything at some level. Okay, maybe you are focusing on the rock start or on the beach start. Okay, practice the beach start and the rock start, but still, reserve some time for the other things, for long distance pumping, for wave riding, especially if you are kind of sharp already. You can pump for 1 minute or so. You can dog start consistently, because at that point you can, learn multiple things at a time. But again, at the beginning, it's just best to learn one thing at a time. Okay, but once you reach some point, you can, go a little bit crazy. That's all I had to share with you. The sun is up. I hope this video helps. And if you really want to have some sessions together, if you really want to have a mentor to help you out in this journey, just feel free to reach out to me via email. The email is in the description, or on Instagram. It's probably even easier. Ciao.
The amount of lift and glide that this foil has is something incredible. Okay, I was used to a toy. It wasn't even a foil, that's a shitty thing. But still, it's a completely different world. Really. Probably you can see from the first attempt that I did that I was trying to push super hard straight away as soon as I was on the board, because I was used to it. I had this super little foil with a little glide, little lift, and it was super, it was not stiff at all. Then I understood that this foil, this 1310, is less permissive, so I need to be more precise with the pump, because as soon as I lose the balance left or right, I fall. It's very hard to recover. But the amount of glide that you have, it's incredible. You can do so many things. You can get on the board with minimal speed. You can wait 2-3 seconds, so you have plenty of time to adjust your feet, and then you can start pumping with a little gentle pump, little precise gentle pump. So of course I need to practice, but I believe that with 3 sessions with this thing, probably with better conditions than today, I will be able to do a lot, really. In this last attempt, most probably I exceeded the shots of the phone, but I did 100 meters easily. Okay, I was downwinding basically, but still with minimal effort I was able to do 100 meters. Incredible, I love it. It's amazing. I wasted so much time with that shitty foil just to save 500 euros, not even 400 euros. And with 400 euros more, I could have been a pump foiler 2 years ago. I'm so stupid. Don't do the same thing. Buy straight away a good foil.
I felt the urge to record this video because so many people are getting into pump foiling, and it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong, that's the purpose of this channel, but 99% of them are doing it the wrong way. They're using the worst possible process to learn it, and they will never learn it this way. Let me tell this to you, if you're just going to the dock with the first foil that you found in the second-hand marketplace, and they are randomly trying to run and then jump on the board and trying to stay on the board, this is not going to work. You will never learn it. Maybe you will learn it in 3 years from now if you don't quit, but chances are that you will quit if you don't get results in the first month. This is why it's so important, it's crucial that you use the right step-by-step process. So listen closely, because in this video I'm going to explain to you exactly the step-by-step process that you have to use if you want to learn pump foiling fast, not like I did. Instead of 2 years, it will take you 2 months to learn pump foiling if you do things the right way, if you follow these steps. First thing first, before you even think about getting into pump foiling, you need the right gear. Now, don't think that you're gonna save money in gear by taking the first foil that you see, because this is the most stupid thing that you can do. Really, believe me, trust me. You need the right foil, otherwise you will not learn it. Otherwise it's gonna take you 2 years. And don't say like, well, I want to save money because I don't know if I will actually like it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. No, you will not be able to do that if you start with the wrong foil. A right foil is important at the beginning. So now, the wingspan doesn't really matter. The surface doesn't really matter. It's so hard to judge a wing just by seeing the specs. But if you really want a parameter that you have to look at to kind of understand whether that wing is good or not, to pump foil, to learn pump foiling, that's the volume. Because that includes the thickness and the surface, okay? Because you need a wing that not only has a good low end, but is also kind of high aspect. Otherwise it's gonna be super clumsy to pump. Now, I could spend hours talking about wings, but that's not really the purpose of this video. So I'm just gonna name a few from Gong, just for you to have a reference. I would say the Series XL, kind of like an hybrid wing to pump long distances, catch some waves, and carve a bit. The Curve H3XL, if you're into wing foiling and you want a wing that you can use both on wing foiling and pump foiling. The Curve HXXL, if you're lighter or you want something more playful or you have a little bit of experience. And the Ceros XXL, if you're heavier or you really want to pump longer distances. Okay, you ordered your gear and you're waiting for it to arrive. What are you doing in the meantime? You're watching my videos, you're reading the pump foil guide, and you're stretching. Mobility is crucial, not only for dog starting, not only for drop starting, not only for everything, even for the pumping movements. Having a good mobility is so important, so you have to start stretching right now. I've made a full guide that you can check by clicking right here somewhere. Okay, now if you really want to learn pump foiling, we have to disassemble the movements, okay? And the first thing to learn is the feet placement. How you learn that, how you practice that, by taking your board and putting it on a couch or on a buzz ball and jumping on it. You have to practice on land if you really want to get the feet placement right consistently. At this point, you should kind of know what's going to be the dog we're going to practice in. Are you going to practice from a low dog or a high dog? You have to know it, because if you will practice from a low dog, you will use the normal dog start, and to practice on land, you will have to place your board on the couch and to jump on it. If, on the other hand, you will practice from a high dog, so the drop start, you want to place your board on the floor on a buzz ball, and you want to jump from a chair on the board, or simply from behind the board on the board. Okay, now you can finally go in the water, but don't go, run, jump, do whatever. Don't do that, okay? You want to separate the movements, okay? You want to learn one thing at a time. It's going to be easier and faster. So let's say that you choose the drop start, okay? Just because it's what I have here. You want to practice first the throw, because you practice the feet placement. Now you want to practice the throw. So just throw the board a bunch of times until you're able to glide it for a long time. Now you want to practice the jump and glide. So jump on the board, but don't pump. Just try to glide as far as possible. And this is the most important part, because you have to be good at starting if you want to learn pumping. Otherwise, you're not consistent. So first you learn the dog start or the drop start, and then you learn the pumping movement. And in between, you have to learn how to glide. Because if you don't know how to glide, how can you pump? You can't. It's physically impossible, right? Because pumping is something more than gliding. So you have to learn how to glide before you learn how to pump. Does it make sense? Again, this video is about the process that you have to follow. So I'm not going to explain to you exactly how to drop start, how to dog start, how to land training, how to stretching. I have videos on each and every of these topics. This is the step-by-step process that you have to follow, okay? You have to separate the movements, one thing at a time. If, on the other hand, you choose to start from a low dog, run on the dog, jump on the board, and stay low. It's so extremely important that you train your brain to keep your hands on the board until your feet are on it. Because if you don't do that, if you just throw the board and jump on it, you will not be able to have the proper feet placement, you will not be able to stay consistent, and you will not be able to transform your weight into forward momentum. So you're just gonna jump on the board and sink it right away. Now that you learn how to glide, you have to learn how to pump. But again, we have to disassemble the movement and learn one little thing at a time. And the first thing that you have to learn is how to relieve your weight off the board. And you learn it by hopping. So you dog start or drop start, you land on the board, you glide, and then you hop. You relieve your weight off the board. You try to gain height on the mast, and that's it. You don't do anything else. You just want to focus on that. A lot of times, you have to be efficient with that. It's not a jump, it's a hop. You just want to relieve your weight. You want to go weightless. You want to disappear for a second. Once you're efficient with hopping, you can go on to the next step, which is pitching the board down, which is transferring your weight in the forward part of the board so that you can then generate speed. So how do you do that? It's actually super simple. It's pretty much the same thing that you did, but instead of just hopping, you are hopping forward. So that's after the hop, you're able to glide. And once you've learned how to dog start, how to glide, how to hop, how to transfer your weight in front so that you can pitch the board down, you can generate speed, which is essentially just moving your weight again on the back foot so that you can press on the mast and generate speed. Now, you just have to combine all these movements together. And how simple it is when you see things this way. Not easy, simple. And you will not have that feeling that you're having now of not knowing what to do on the board. I know that feeling because I've been there.
I hope this video helps. I hope this video was valuable.
Before even buying my first foil, I watched really a lot of videos to find out the best technique to jump on the board to dock start. And at the beginning, I used to run, leave the board, and then jump on the board. But I'm pretty sure that this is the hardest way to do it, because you're really guessing. Really, I really don't understand the people who are doing it this way. You're really guessing. There are so many factors. The way you run is different all the time. The way you leave the board is different all the time. How the board behaves without you on top is different all the time. And then the jump. How can you land every time in the same position, with the feet in the same position, if the board is not always in the same position? So in my opinion, this is not the way to do it. At least for me, and this is what I would recommend for a complete beginner. Don't start this way. I know it's more instinctive, but this is not the best way to do it. The best way is to never lose the control of the board. So always have contact with the board. You can see that now, when I launch the board, I'm doing 2 steps with my left hand behind the board on the tail and my right hand on the right side of the board. I do my 2 steps, and during the last step I move my hands and I place them almost where my feet will go, slightly wider than my feet placement. And then I jump without leaving the board. I land with my back foot first, and then immediately after my front foot. And then as I place my front foot, I remove my hands and I stand up. If you already tried the dock starting, you're likely to be using the same technique that I used to use at the beginning. And in my opinion, you will have a really an hard time to be consistent this way. So I really recommend you to go through this land training to remove from your mind this movement that you have now and implant this new correct movement that I'm showing you. At the beginning you may find it really difficult and you might lose the balance left or right, but as you do it over and over, you will gain the balance and become more precise at each jump. As you complete a bunch of sets, you might start getting tired. And what I suggest you to do is to add the stand-up movement at the jump movement. So you slow down the intensity of the training, because in the same time you do less jumps because you're adding this movement. This part is very important as well, because another mistake that I used to do at the beginning of my journey was that I was jumping on the board and I was standing up straight. But if you are too high, you are more likely to lose the balance. So it's important that in this part you stand up, but you stay low on your knees. You stay low with your center of balance. So this way you will really implant in your brain that you don't need to stand up straight. Imagine jumping off a wall. After the jump, you stay low. You don't stand up straight away. You stay low for a little bit. And this is the same principle. In order to maintain the balance and not fall left, right, forward or backwards as you land from the jump, you need to stay low, especially because you are flying over the water. And it's not a skimboard. You really have a little surface that is lifting you from the water.
If I would have done this land training, I would have probably avoided my injury. Stick until the end, because I'm not only going to reveal to you the best land training, even better than the couch training, but I'm also going to give you a handful of tips that you can implement right now to save your life. Okay, now I'm exaggerating, but really, the more you practice without implementing these tips, the higher the chances for you to get injured. So watch this video. Countless times I mentioned how important it is to practice on land to save time. But did I ever mention how important it is to prevent injuries? I hope you can understand that the land training
especially when you're a beginner. But by the way, we're always beginners because we always have to learn something. But it's so important because it's like twice, 3 times as valuable as the training in the water if you've never done that activity. So ideally you should buy a buzzable, but I found this one and honestly it does the job. So why would you spend 100 euros for a buzzable if this for 20 bucks does the job? But yeah, you saw me adjusting the board at the beginning because you want the middle of this ball to be where the center of a lift is on your foil when it's in the water. So I know that with the Cyrus, the center of lift is approximately here, where there is this line in between the black and the blue part of the pad. It's pretty forward, I know, but the Cyrus has a lot of lift and the fuselage is not advanced. Now, especially during the drop start, the reverse start, the inverted start, you name it, you don't want to land with your feet in the spot where you are going to have them during the pump. You want to land in a more stable position. Now, my back foot is usually here when I'm pumping, and my front foot is around here. It moves from the nose until this point, depending on the foil that I'm using and how far I'm going, if I'm going against the current, if I'm going with the current. There are many factors. But I'm not gonna land with my back foot here during the drop start, because most likely I'm gonna sink the board right away. You want to have a wider stance when you land on the board on the drop start or on the inverted start from Yvonne. Why that? Because it's more stable. It's simply more stable, you know, a wider stance. So I'm usually landing with my back foot around here, so exactly on top of the mast where there is a center of lift at that moment. And then as I gain speed, I just move it a little bit more towards the front. Whilst at the front one, I try to land it in the exact spot right away. Now, when you're practicing with the ball, it's not really important that you land and you're super stable. It's normal that you're touching with the front part of the board. Why that? Because on the water, ideally, you're gonna have this forward momentum, right? Here you don't have this forward momentum because you're stuck. You cannot move forward. But if when you land on the board goes like this, that's a good sign actually, because it means that you are actually transferring a little bit of your weight. You're transforming a bit of your weight into forward momentum. That's what you want to do if you want to gain speed. So why this training is better than the one on the couch? Simply because it teaches you how to be gentle. You have to be gentle, otherwise you're gonna bounce on the ball and you're gonna fall. Left, right, or forward or backward. So it really teaches you to be gentle. And that's exactly what you want to do. That's exactly what you have to do in all the starts. Not only in the drop start, in the reverse start, but also in the beach start and in the rock start, and in the normal dog start. And by the way, I'm just showing you right now this training, which is again the training for the inverted start from Yvonne. But you can basically use this same ball for all the trainings, and I'm gonna show you in a couple of minutes how you can use this same this same setup to practice other starts. So why this training is superior? Why is it useful? Or why should you do it in the first place? Why shouldn't you just go in the water and go right away?
because you're gonna fall and gonna injure yourself. First of all, if you're just getting started, there are simply too many things that you have to think about at the same time. It's such a complex movement. You should instead split it into different steps and practice one step at a time. For example, you should practice the feet placement, okay? You can do it over and over until you land your feet in the same spot consistently. And then you can go in the water and practice the throw. You just throw the board and you make it glide as far as possible. And then, since we are humans, our most comfortable environment is the ground, not the water, right? So it's just easier to learn something on the ground than it is on the water, right? Then if you want to emulate a higher dock, you can just simply place something which is like 20 to 30 centimeters higher than the board and just do the same. Just be careful not to destroy your board and not to destroy yourself, not to explode the ball. But yeah, you should be able to do the same, right? It's a bit harder, of course, to be gentle, but that's the game, you know? That's why you're doing this training. To learn to be gentle. To improve your sensitivity. To improve your feet placement. Now you could use something else so that you're not hitting your board too hard, but what are you gonna do? This is what I have. The first time I tried Yvonne starter, I was pretty inconsistent because the problem was mainly my feet placement and the timing. I was placing my front foot before the back one. Now I'm really practicing to place both feet roughly at the same time. This was a good one. A bit too much pressure on the front foot compared to the back one, but the feet placement was right. And I was pretty gentle. You see? If you do it for 1 hour, I'm not saying that you have to do it for 2 months. I'm saying that if you do it for 1 hour per day for 1 week, you're gonna go to the dock and you're gonna destroy it. You're gonna be so fucking good at it. For what concern where I'm looking, I'm usually looking where my front foot should land. Because I feel like you can better control the front foot than the back one. Especially because usually the front one lands a little bit earlier. This was a bad one because I didn't transfer the weight in front. I just, boom, I landed like a rock. This was a good one as well. You see the movement that I'm doing with my knees? It's kind of like this, you know? Again, to transfer all my weight, my massive weight, into forward momentum. If you notice that the board, after a couple of trials, is pointing a little bit on the left or on the right, that's because you are putting too much pressure on one side than on the other side. So that should be like an alarm to tell you that something is wrong, that you should be more careful where you place the feet in the y-axis. And remember, from time to time, to check if the board moved, because most likely, with the forward momentum that you're giving to the board, it's going forward. So you should place it again in the right spot on the cushion. Unfortunately, I cannot practice the beach start and the dog start the right way, because I would risk to open my bones again. But I will do it like slowly, so just for you to understand. So the principle is the same. You just have to place the cushion on top of the couch then the board again on the cushion, and make sure that the middle of the cushion is approximately on the center of lift of the board, so more or less where the front wing is going to be. And once you have that, you just have to practice the dog start. And again, it's gonna be harder because you have this room, you know, this pitch room. Again, I cannot jump, I cannot do that because if I put pressure on my left hand, I will just stretch my wound, and I don't want that. Otherwise, I will never be able to go into water again. But yeah, essentially, the cool thing is that you can really feel how much pressure you have to put with your backhand and with your front hand when you place the feet. And with the normal couch system, you couldn't do that. You couldn't really understand how much pressure you have to put with the backhand and with the front hand. And that's the key, especially in the beach start. Because we realize that in the beach start, you have to put a ton of pressure on the front hand. Because the main thing that I was doing wrong in the beach start was that I was jumping. You don't have to jump in the beach start. You have to make this step. You have to step on the board. You don't have to jump. Because if you jump, you're gonna lose all the speed that you gained with the run. And on top of that, it's almost impossible to jump that high. So what you really have to do is to step on the board. So you run, but instead of making one step next to the other, you step with your back foot first on the board, you compensate the pressure with your front hand, and then you lift yourself by helping you with the backhand. Again, I cannot do that, but if you try that, you realize that how much pressure you have to put in the front of the board to not make it pitch up. If, like in my case, the couch is too soft and you disengage the cushion while you step on the board, just try to find a small table which holds you. This is pretty much all what the beach start is about, to step on the board and to compensate your back foot pressure. Ideally, the table should be a bit higher, because I think that now the board is around 60 centimeter above the ground. Yeah, 55, 60. And if you consider my 77 centimeter mast in the water, I have to make this step about 90, 95, 100 centimeter high. So yeah, it's way higher than this. It's gonna be more or less around here. But again, I don't wanna force myself right now. So yeah, this is pretty much how you practice the beach start. You practice this step. The faster you can do it, the better. And you should try not to touch the table with the board. Another cool thing about using this cushion to practice the beach start is that you can understand where to place your hands. Because if I would place this hand right here, for example, I will be unbalanced, right? But if I place it here, I am more balanced. And the same thing, if I place this hand here, I will be unbalanced. I would rotate, I would roll the board on the water, and I don't want that, right? So you can also practice various hand placements. I think that this one is probably the best one, because this way you can just put your front hand like this and keep your back hand in the same spot, basically. And yeah, remember that in the beach start and in the rock start from very low rocks, your knee, your back knee, goes outside, not inside. Sometimes I might do the rock start like this, so I place my back knee inside, in between my hands, but most of the time it's gonna be something like this. What I'm doing, it's not safe at all. I could risk to fall from the third floor, but anyway, I'm not gonna stand up. Okay, no, this is very, very stupid.
But as I said at the beginning of this video, there are other tips that you can implement to prevent injuries. For example, eject. That's so important. I used to do it, then I forgot it. Especially when you're doing these long sessions, you are likely to forget it. But it's so important that if you see that the launch is not a good launch, and you see it because you know it, right after you land on the board. You know if that's gonna be a good lunge or a bad lunge. And if it's a bad lunge, just eject as soon as possible, right away. Don't try to stay on the board, because that's when you fall on the foil like an idiot, like I did, right? Okay, I am a terrible example because I posted like 50 videos and in none of them I wear protections, but don't be like that, please. Just wear an helmet, an impact vest, even just the wetsuit, it helps, really. Even if it's summertime, just buy one of those t-shirts, like cut protective t-shirts, whatever that is. Another fundamental thing that would have probably saved me from that injury is to take breaks. I cannot stress enough how important that is. Really, I think that I was like 1 hour 15 in that session, and I was rocking trial after trial after trial. I think I was like with a pace of 2 or 3 trials per minute. So you make the calculations, but that's a lot of trials without breaks, right? And the thing is that the beach start especially is way physical than the other starts. So especially, for example, in the beach start, you have to take breaks. Also because, you know why? When you're practicing the dog start or the drop start, after you fail, you have to, maybe swim back, come back up on the dock or on the pier or wherever you are. So you rest in between, right? But on the beach start, you just run, fall, walk back, run, fall. So it's like an infinite loop, and you get tired much quickly. So yeah, just be aware of that, especially if you're practicing the beach start. And as I said in the previous video, don't take shortcuts and respect your limits. I'm not saying that you cannot push yourself to your limit. You should, actually, if you really want to improve fast. But reach your limit or slightly before and pull back a bit at a safe level. So yeah, that's that. I'm pretty sure that if you implement each and every of these steps and you practice on land as I explained at the beginning in step 1, you will drastically reduce the risk of injury. But yeah, now don't get scared or demotivated or don't find excuses. Just go out there and pump. I want to say thank you to Kirk for giving me this idea of the land training with the boss ball, and thank you to all of you because you demonstrated that you care about me, and I really, really appreciate it. I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
So you watch my videos, you study the techniques, you got the right gear, and then you go into water, and in the videos everything seems so easy, and then in the water it's so hard. No, it's not because I'm 21, it's because you have to work on your mobility. I don't care if you're 20, I don't care if you're 40, I don't care if you're 50. Do this, and you will be able to beach start and rock start easily. 10 minutes of your time today to watch this video and 15 minutes of your time every day starting from tomorrow, it's all you need to be able to beach start, rock start, dog start, drop start, and to pump easily and further. If 15 minutes of your time for you is too much to improve your health, longevity, and pumping, it's okay, fair enough. You can click off this video, and I will only talk to the people who are able to do this huge sacrifice. Okay, now that I'm talking only to the right qualified people, subscribe if you haven't yet, and start implementing these tips right now when the video is playing. So a good flexibility is not only crucial for the start, but also for the pumping movement, because if our joints are stiff, we have to use more energy and more oxygen to make the same movement, because there is more resistance, so we're gonna pump less, right? So the first thing is to understand where your problem is. Now, most of the exercises that we're gonna cover will help you improve both your ankle flexibility and your hip flexors flexibility. But still, it's good to have a direction, and it's actually pretty simple to understand where is your problem. You just have to hold this squat position and to understand what's going on. So, if you're falling backwards like this means that you probably have ankle rigidity. So you should focus on your ankles. If, on the other hand, you notice that your back is arching a lot while you're holding this position, this means that your hip flexors are probably the problem. So yeah, let's just cover a bunch of exercises that you can do to improve your flexibility starting from day 1, starting from now. So while you're watching this video, just, I don't know, place the phone somewhere and follow the steps along with me. Let's start with some exercises to improve your ankle mobility first. So the first one is actually pretty simple. It's the same squat position that we were holding before, But from this position, we should try to play a bit around. So we should try to push a bit our knee towards our toes to make it go beyond them. A bit like this, left, right. And then if you want to go a step beyond, you can use a wider stance, and you can make this. So you're working also sideways on the side flexibility, not only front and back. And by the way, with this exercise, you are already working on the hip flexors as well. One of the reasons why you are falling backwards while you're holding this squat position is probably because you have huge calves, not like me, and they're not flexible enough compared to their strength, okay? So you really want to work on them. So there are many ways to stretch your calves, and this is probably the easiest and the most effective. So just grab whatever. I just took a leg of my small table and just place the balls of your feet like this, and just stretch as straight as you can. Try to squeeze your quads and your glutes as well, and your abs, so that you are as straight as possible. If you do it against a wall or against something, just like I'm doing now, you can hold yourself. You can hold your body closer to the wall so that you're stretching even more. Again, try to squeeze your quads, your glutes, and your abs so that your body is kind of straight. The more you progress, the higher the thing that you are putting below your feet can be. The third exercise that you can do to improve your ankle flexibility, but by the way, this is a great exercise also for your hip flexors, is this one. So it's simply a split squat, okay? So from this position, this is an active exercise, right? So you're also strengthening your legs a bit. So you just want to make this split squat. You have to try to keep your trunk as straight as possible, as vertical as possible, perpendicular to the ground. And in the meantime, you should try to push your knee forward. So again, after your toes. But it's important that you're not doing like this, okay? You have to keep your trunk straight. You can keep a hand on your belly as a reminder to contract your abs and to stay upright. If you have tight hip flexors and you tried the last exercise, you were probably already feeling some pain in your hip flexors, because this is actually pretty similar to the first exercise that I want to cover to work on your hip flexors mobility, which is this one. It's kind of the same position, but this time your knee is touching the ground, and instead of pushing your knee forward, we are trying to push our butt forward. So of course our knee will go forward as well, but the key here is to try to stretch these parts right here. Let me show it to you better. So you wanna draw like a square with your legs like this, and then you want to stretch it like this, okay? You want to push your butt forward. Again, contract your abs, look forward, and push. Again, you don't want to feel pain right here. You want to feel pain right here. I mean pain, not too much. Within your limits, right? This is super important. This is a great exercise to work on your hip flexor mobility. You're gonna feel a lot of stretch in this part right here. Again, try to hold the position for 30 seconds to 1 minute for each leg. And then you can move on to the next exercise. As you can see, I'm holding one hand on my belly and one hand on my butt to remember myself to squeeze them, to squeeze my abs, to contract my abs, and to push my butt forward. So you don't want to do this. You want to keep your trunk perpendicular to the ground, just like we were doing before, but this time you really want to push your butt. So the next exercise is great for the quads, the hip flexors, and the ankles, but on the opposite direction compared to the one that we were stretching before. So you just want to keep this kneeling position, And then you just want to go backwards a bit at a time, okay? Start with your hands first and try to push your butt towards the sky. You will feel your hip flexors and your quads stretching, most probably. Now, if you want to go a step further, because maybe this is too easy for you, you should try to do this. So you place your elbows on the yoga mat, and again you push your butt towards the sky. Try not to enlarge too much your back. Try to contract your abs. And again, push your butt towards the sky. And make sure that your knees are not detaching from the mat. With each and every of these exercises, it's super important that you're breathing and that you're relaxed. The last exercise to stretch your hip flexors, and perhaps my favorite, because it's the one with which you can really isolate your hip flexors, is this one. So you grab a table with something on top, with your yoga mat on top, or maybe even your couch, always the couch, and you just place one leg on it, like this, and then you try, again, to squeeze your butt and to push it forward. If you have a tight hip flexors, you will really feel your hip flexors stretching, because you are really isolating only that part with this movement. Again, you should try to contract your abs as much as possible and to keep your trunk straight, perpendicular to the ground. But yeah, the further your front foot from the table or from the couch, the harder it's gonna be, right? But anyway, you can start like this, and then you can go further and further as you practice. Again, you can keep a hand on your belly to remind you to contract your abs, or a hand on your butt as a reminder to push it forward. This is super intense. And of course, you're also stretching your ankle, again on the other side, compared to the exercises that we covered before. You can also play a bit around, so from this position you can rotate like this, so that you're stretching your hip flexors in 3 directions and not just in the forward direction. As you could probably see, I have tight hip flexors, so I'm doing loads of exercises of this kind. This is another one, for example. You try to keep your back as straight as possible, and you push forward like if you were trying to touch your toes with your belly. This is another one. It's pretty similar. Again, you want to try to keep your back as straight as possible, and you want to act like if you were trying to touch the ground with your belly. Of course, unless you're, I don't know, an athlete or something, it's gonna be pretty hard, but it's a great exercise, and again, you can feel your hip flexors very stretched. This is a pretty simple exercise that you can do to stretch both your ankles and your hip flexors. Again, you want to try to keep your back as straight as possible, and you should not put too much pressure on your hands. You want to try to put more pressure on your legs, so that you're really stretching, in this case, your hip flexors and your ankles. So yeah, that's that. It's pretty simple. As you could probably see, you just have to be consistent with it and to practice these exercises at least 15 minutes per day. And there are other things that you can implement in your daily life, in your day-to-day life, to improve your mobility. For example, you should try to hold this position a bit more during the day. I don't know, instead of sitting while you're reading or while you're, I don't know, watching my videos, you should try to hold this position, okay? And again, if you notice that your knees tend to go inwards, just push them a bit outside, okay? So that you're stretching a bit your hip flexors. And if you see that you're struggling with your ankles, just push a bit forward, okay? Again, you want to make it sustainable. You want to try to hold this position for 5 to 10 minutes at least, okay? So don't push too much, otherwise you will feel too much pain and you will not be able to go on. Then another tips that I have for you is to stand. to not sit too much. For example, more often than not, I'm using this standing desk whenever I have to work on my laptop. Another great piece of advice that I have for you is to use low, flat shoes, like this one. I mean, this one is destroyed, but I like it this way. Because the thing is that if your shoes have a lot of material, a lot of rubber here at the back, that's so bad for your posture because you're always keeping your feet like this. And you don't want that. You want to keep your posture as much natural as possible. And by nature, we shouldn't wear shoes. We should be barefoot. And that's another thing, by the way. We should try to walk barefoot a bit more during our normal lives. If, like me, you cannot afford a foil drive or to ride behind a boat, and in your spot there are no constant waves or constant wind, then the only solution to learn pumping is to learn dog starting. I believe that dog starting it's a bit easier to learn than pumping, also because at the beginning you will for sure start more than you pump. But I also believe that you really need to focus on dog starting to be able to get a dog off the board in the right position more often, so that you are able to pump without wasting your time and just running on the dog, jumping on the board and swimming back to the dog. If you focus on dog starting first, and then once you're able to complete 10 dog start out of 10, you switch your focus into pumping, it's gonna be much easier because you will overcome this first barrier, and then once this dog start movement is implanted in your brain, you can focus on pumping only, because it's gonna be natural for you to get on top of the board. I didn't do that, and in fact I wasted a lot of time. Because I was jumping on the board, I was so focused on the dog start that I was jumping on the board. Maybe I was able to get on the board in the right position, but then my brain was too slow and I couldn't switch my focus from the dog start to the pump. So I was on top of the board, but I didn't know what to do. And I was just randomly jumping on the board. So please, learn dog start first, if it's the only solution for you to pump, and then switch your focus into pumping. There are 6 steps that you need to follow, and I promise that if you follow them all, you will be able to complete 10 dog start out of 10 by next week. I swear, I promise you. The first is the land training. I know it's boring, I know it's not super exciting, I know you want to get on top of that board on the water, but really, practice first on land and you will save so much time. While to simulate pumping on land, it's quite hard. I believe that the only solution is to snowboard or to skateboard. On the other hand, to simulate the dog start on land, it's quite easy. You just need a couch or something and of course your board. So take your board, place it on your couch or on any other surface which is around 50 centimeters from the floor. Then take some duct tape and place it where your feet will go. So your back feet needs to be approximately between the mast and the front wing, and consequently your front foot will be shoulder width apart from the back foot, so approximately 40-50 centimeters, it depends on you. And then practice the technique that I will explain you in step 5. The second step is to find the right spot. So I'm gonna describe the spots from the best to the worst. So best case scenario, you have a large floating dock, so you have nothing underneath it. You have flat water. The dock is like 20 centimeters from the surface, and you are in deep water, so at least 1 meter 20, 1 meter something under you. So you are not destroying your board against the sand or against the rocks. If this dock is inside a marina or an harbor or on a lake, it's even better because that way you always have flat water and you never have
waves, wind, and anything bothering you. If you don't have a floating dock, you may have a fixed dock. It's a little bit harder because you need to avoid the pillars, but still it's something. But again, if it's like 20-30 centimeters from the surface, it's better, because the higher it is, the harder it is to run on it with the board on your hands. Then, if you don't have a fixed dock, if you don't have a floating dock, if you don't have anything, the other solution is the ladder. It's a solution that I'm using myself, and it's not the best solution because the ladder itself it's quite expensive, and then you need to take it on the beach and mount it on every time, and it's time consuming. It takes me like more than 5 minutes to set it up and put it in the water, and more than 5 minutes to take it back in the beach and disassemble it. And also it's made out of aluminium and iron, so in the long run, like after 6 months or so, I will probably have to throw it away because the salt is ruining it. So it's not the best solution, but if you only have a beach and the water is too shallow to beach start, then the only solution is the ladder. Another solution, if for example you are on a lake, there are no docks, and you cannot place the ladder because the water is too deep straight away, you need an SUP. I've only heard about it, but I've heard of people who are putting like a large SUP in the water. They are fixing them like with anchors or with ropes, and they are dock starting from it. But of course, you are super close to the water, so you need to jump higher, and it's hard to jump high because it's super unstable. So I've only heard about it, and it's only an idea. I wouldn't recommend to do it. Probably it's better to rock start, so to start from a rock than to start from an SUP. And it's also cheaper and easier to set up. So if you don't have a ladder, maybe you can find a rock. But again, it's gonna be super hard to learn dock starting and pumping if you're jumping from a rock. It's like the last step. It's like the last step before beach starting. So it's hard, it's way hard. Then the third step, and I believe it's one of the most underrated, but yet one of the most important, is to study and visualize the right technique that I'm going to explain in step 5. Really, with every single thing that you learn into these hard disciplines, you need to implant the drill in your brain and to visualize yourself doing it. Really, don't underestimate this step. It's so important to just sit there, close your eyes, and visualize yourself doing what you just learned, so that when you will go on the water, you will already have this drill in your brain. And another thing that you might find useful is to repeat the drill aloud while you're doing it. So while you're dock starting, you just repeat. For example, what I do myself is keep the board high, run, jump high on the board, stay low, look forward. This is what I'm thinking about when I'm dock starting. Of course, the more you do it, the more you succeed, and the more this movement will be implanted in your muscle memory. So it's gonna be easier and easier, and you won't need to repeat aloud the drill every time. But at the beginning, it's very useful. Listen to me. Step 4. Unless you're using like a super small foil, like less than 1800 for a mid aspect foil and less than 1600 for a high aspect foil, you don't need to run. Really, you don't need to run. You just need to do these 2 steps. 1, 2, jump. You don't really need to run. You don't really need that much speed. You just need a little bit of momentum, because then you will be able to gain speed and to accelerate once you're on the board. It's easier to accelerate once you're on the board than to jump when you have an higher speed, because it's harder to place the feet in the right position. And finally, the 5th step, the technique. So we say that you need to run. how you are holding your board when you're running. I found myself very comfortable by placing my back hand behind the board and my front hand on the side of the board, approximately at the level where my front foot will go. Okay, so you are running one step, and while you are doing your second step, you move your hands and you place them almost where your feet will be. So you already know where your feet will be because maybe you have the duct tape and you practice it on land, so you know where your feet have to be. Okay, you don't need to place your hand exactly where your feet will be, but slightly outwards. Okay, so for example, your back hand will be a little bit more towards the back of the board, and your front hand will be a little bit more towards the front of the board, so that you have the room to place your feet once you jump. Okay, so you move your hands, and in a fraction of a second you jump, but be careful, you don't need to press the board because otherwise the board will sink. You need to jump high using your legs. Okay, so you're not sinking the board. And also there are two super important things that were preventing me from succeeding. And these things were, first of all, you need to keep your board horizontal. It may seem like normal, but trust me, it's not, because when you're focusing on so many things, you forget this basic thing. Okay, so focus on keeping your board horizontal, because if your board is not horizontal while you're jumping on it, for sure you will sink. You will not be able to recover it, because if the board is not horizontal and you put weight on it, it's gonna gain speed, but it's gonna sink directly. And another super important thing that really helps you placing your feet in the right position, which by the way is the hardest part of dog starting, is to look exactly where your back foot will go on the board, so that it's easier, it's more natural for your foot to go there, because you're looking there. If just like me, you're kind of bulky while you're jumping on the board, maybe you're putting too much pressure on it, just visualize yourself and imagine being like a cat. Cats are super agile and super gentle in their movements. You need to do the same. You need to be super gentle, you need to be agile, light, like a cat. And then, finally, the sixth step, which is what to do once you're on the board. So I'm not gonna explain how to pump because this is another video, but what you need to do. As I said, I really suggest you to not think about pumping at first. Remember that you're just focusing on dog starting. So as soon as you get on the board with the feet in the right position, your goal is to glide. But keep in mind two important things. The first is that you need to look forward. Imagine when you learned how to ride a bicycle. I bet that at the beginning you were looking at your front wheel and you were crashing. As soon as you started looking forward, you were able to ride a bicycle. And it's the same thing. You need to look where you want to go. You don't need to look at the water or at your feet. And the other thing, which is even more important, is to stay low, to bend your knees. First of all, because if you're like a cat, as we said, you are trying to be light on the board, okay? And then, if you keep your knees bent, you will glide longer. It's gonna be easier for you to keep the balance, and of course, you need to have your knees bent for the first pump, because the first part of the first pump is to release your weight from the board. To allow the board to rise. So if you need to have your knees bent at the beginning, keep them bent directly after the jump. That's it. I promise you that if you follow this 6th step, you will double your dog start success ratio by the end of next week. I promise you. Really. And then, after next week, you can focus on pumping. I hope that this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any other question in the comment below. I will be more than happy to help you. And share this video with whoever you think might find it useful to help me in my mission to help aspirant pump foiler to succeed. And keep watching my videos every Monday and Saturday at 7:30 p.m. UTC. Also because I'm writing a guide, a complete guide on how to pump foil, and I'm planning to giving it away for free, at least at the beginning. So keep watching to make sure you don't miss it. That's it. Thanks for watching. I talked even too much. See you in the next one. Bye.
I made a mistake. I said that swinging your arms to help you release your weight on the way up and increase momentum and gain speed on the descent is super important. So I started doing it a lot. But I wasn't getting the expected result. I wasn't consistent. Why? Because I was overusing my arms, and this led to uncontrolled pumping and getting tired super quickly. The thing is that in pumping, everything you do is affecting what you do next. So if, for example, I'm joining my arms high in the sky, when my arms will go down, this movement will be harsh and will affect the board much more. So we are trying to be light on the board, to be as light as possible on the board. So okay, that's if you throw your arms high in the sky, you will release more your weight from the board, but you will be also heavier on the descent. So you wouldn't gain any benefit from it. So the most important thing should remain your leg movement, is half squat movement that I talked about in the previous videos. This movement of the half squat itself is not difficult. The difficult part is to combine these half squat movements with the transfer weight from the front to the back foot with the arm swings. All these three movements together at this right time, with the right timing. That's the most difficult part. And there isn't really a shortcut for that. Okay, you can practice the movement on land, but to be able to learn the right timing, you just need to go in the water and practice, fail, adjust, practice. There's not a shortcut. Remember that it's important to swing your arms, but it shouldn't be more than 30% of your movement. Otherwise, it would affect the board too much. And you cannot pump only with your arms, because you cannot control the pump the right way. You need to be very precise with the board, and you cannot do it with your arms, because the arms are very far from the board, okay? Your legs are the first part of your body that's connected to the board, and that's the main part of the movement. So that's where you should focus your attention on. The arms are a complementary movement.
hope this quick video with this quick tip will help you improve in your next session, even by just a little bit, because remember that pump foiling is like training to run a marathon. You should improve even by 5% every session. You cannot expect to go into water tomorrow and be 50% better than last time. So be happy even if you improve just by a little 5%. And if you're not improving, just go back, study the technique, watch my videos, and then go back into water, more focused and more determined. And you will get it. I promise you. Just be consistent and don't quit. Never quit. Thanks for watching, and see you Monday at 7:30 p.m. UTC. I didn't think it was possible, but actually with my videos I'm helping myself because today, thanks to my video and to these incredible conditions, sunny, that glossy, no wind, I was able to probably do 20 dock starts in a row. I cannot demonstrate it because my phone ran out of memory after 15 minutes while I stayed in the water for more than an hour like usual. So if you don't believe me, it's fine. I'm proud of myself, so I'm complete. I don't need anyone's approval. We are all focused on getting the perfect gear, on choosing the perfect spot and on studying the perfect technique. But the most important thing for pump foiling is another one. You know, life is one big mind game, and so is pump foiling. So everything is inside here. We will never succeed if you don't believe we can succeed. Pumping wise, I'm not super consistent yet, but dock start wise, I'm perfectly set. 5 days ago, I was doing like 5 or 6 dock starts out of 10. Yesterday, I went to the beach. Okay, the conditions were perfect. The sea was dead calm, but in an hour and more than 20 trials, I was able to do all of them. I failed only once. One dock start out of more than 20. And nothing changed, nothing. Just my beliefs and the fact that after the first 5 or 6 good dock starts, I entered this positive feedback loop. And so it was easier and easier and easier. Now I need to do the same with pump foiling, so that even pump foiling will be natural for me. Here's the 6-step framework that I designed for you, so that you can make the same mindset shift that I did, that allowed me to be able to do more than 20 dock starts in a row. The first thing is study. I know that I'm repeating this all the time, but it is fundamental that you learn by watching the videos, you take notes, you repeat aloud, and you clear up any confusion and any doubt that you may have. After you have the perfect technique in your mind, you need to change your mindset. You need to understand that people who are doing it, the pros who are pumping for 10 minutes, they are not special. They are human beings like us. They wake up every day and they go to bed every day and they have to eat to survive. They are humans. And so we are. So we can succeed. We don't need to be ultra fit, we don't need to be 20, we don't need to be 40. We just need to believe that we can do it. and to be consistent with it, to be determined, to be disciplined, and we will get it. The third step, and perhaps the most important, is visualization. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, or if you're doing it, or if you're using it during your normal life for other things, but for pump foiling, it's game-changing, really. Once you have the technique, once you believe that you can do it, you need to start visualizing yourself doing it. Literally all the time, before going to bed, when you wake up, when you drive to the dock, when you are on the dock, before getting inside, you need to visualize yourself pumping. You need to visualize yourself succeeding. You need to visualize yourself breaking the 1 minute barrier. You need to visualize yourself coming back to the dock. You need to visualize yourself rocking 10 dock start out of 10. Really, it's so powerful. If you really visualize it all the time, you will get it in less time than you ever thought about it. The fourth step is also incredibly useful. I'm using it all the time, and since I'm using it, my sessions are way better. And it's to meditate. So usually I go to the beach, I set up my ladder, I assemble my foil, I put the ladder into water, I take my foil into the water in the ladder with me, and I just sat in the ladder and I meditate. I just listen to my breath, to the waves, and I clear my mind so I don't have any thoughts. I'm only revising the drills and visualizing myself succeeding, and that's it. No thoughts. The fifth step is assess and adjust. So we are at the beach, you meditated, you visualized, and you start dock starting and you start pumping. Maybe you are not succeeding. Most likely it's not going like it was in your brain. Don't get pissed off. Just relax, breathe, and as you come back to the dock, before the next trial, just revise the drill and repeat aloud what you did wrong in the last jump. Because most likely you know what you did wrong. Because if you study the technique, you know what you did wrong. You know what didn't work. So you are aware of what you need to change on the next trial to be successful. So just be happy that you failed, so that you are learning, okay? If you're failing, it means that you're learning. So be happy. Be proud of your failures. Because if you fail, the more you fail, the more likely you will be to succeed. So be happy with your failures. And assess and adjust after every launch. The sixth step, and perhaps the more enjoyable, is to enter this positive feedback loop. So you are at the beach, you failed, you assessed, you adjust, and now you did like a 3 or 4 good launch. Amazing. Do another 2, and you will enter this positive feedback loop, and you will transform yourself. You will become a superhero, and you will destroy the dock. Really, if you enter this positive feedback loop, it's like a compound effect. The more you succeed, the more likely you will be to succeed again and again. Because you have superpower. The positive feedback loop is like superpower. You need to enter that zone, and you will destroy the dock. You will crush it. Remember that you don't need to be special, you don't need to be ultra fit, you don't need to be an ultra marathoner to be a pump foiler. Pros aren't special. They just put the effort in. They just tried harder than us, and for longer. In the 50s, people thought it was humanly impossible to run a mile in less than 4 minutes. In the 1954, as soon as the first man broke the 4 minutes barrier, a lot of other athletes were able to do the same and to run the mile in less than 4 minutes. Nothing changed. The human body didn't change. The training didn't change. Just the beliefs in their minds changed. And that's what you need to do as well. You need to rewrite your beliefs and to follow the 6 steps to shift your mindset and to enter this positive feedback loop. And you will succeed. See you Saturday evening at 7:30 UTC but maybe even sooner. We will see. Okay, we can stay on the board. Okay, we can cover some distance. Okay, we can dock start 10 out of 10. Okay, we can come back to the dock. Okay, we can pump for a minute or so. But we are still missing something. What's the difference between us and those who are pumping for 10, 20 minutes? What's missing in our technique? What's the missing piece of the puzzle? What's the last brick to build this house? First of all, when it's too choppy, it's too choppy. I still need to find a single video on YouTube where a pro pump foiler is pumping when the conditions are choppy. I don't mean waves, because one thing are waves, one thing is swell, and one thing is messy, choppy conditions. It's silly to think of learning pump foiling in messy conditions, okay? So don't waste your time. And just go home, practice home, and come back when the conditions are better. Higher, higher, higher. Detach yourself from the board. Lift that back heel. Allow the board to rise at its maximum potential. Maximize that rise. Augment the time you are light. Augment that small time that you are detached from the board. Bend those knees so that the board can rise even more. It's like a squat, but instead of you going up and down, it's the floor who is coming up, and you that you are bending your knees to allow the floor to come up more. You need to connect, you don't need to press. Stop pressing that board. You need to connect. Don't press. You need to glide, okay? Just like you are maximizing the climb, you need to try to maximize the glide. It's like it looks like I'm in a hurry because I don't trust the board. I need to trust the board. I need to be confident. I need to understand that the board is there, the foil is there to glide. So I just need to trust it, to feel it. How to maximize that glide? It's all about how you transfer the weight from the back foot to the front foot. It's important that during the descent, you are you're transferring your weight on the back foot, not on the front foot. I know it's counterintuitive, but if you look closer at the videos, you will notice that all the pro pump foiler during the descent are shifting the weight, are shifting their center of balance towards the back of the board. And then, when the board is flat close to the water, they are moving their weight on the center of the board so that they can then move it towards the front of the board, because they are not jumping up perpendicular to the board. They are jumping up perpendicular to the water. And if the board is pointing up, they are not perpendicular to the board. They are going up front, up forward compared to the board. Extend those knees fully. Are you a stick? What are you? Are you a human, or you are a trunk, a tree? You're a human, right? So be flexible. Use your flexibility. Flex and straighten back your knees fully. I have problems because I'm stiff. I'm hitting the gym too much. I'm training my legs too much, so I'm stiff. I need to stretch to gain back that explosive power. And the last thing is not a thing. It's just hours, days, weeks, months. We need to do it for weeks, months, and years to be able to really get that movement inside our brain. Stay in the fight. Practice, 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 and stay hard. And we will reach a point where we don't even need a ladder or a dock anymore. We will just need a board as small as possible, a foil, and a pump. And we would be able to pump foil everywhere. See you on Saturday, and stay tuned because soon I will release the full pump foil guide. I'm working hard on since months. If you're stuck in your pump foil journey, probably you are doing this mistake. In the last month, I spent dozens of hours analyzing every single video to find out every small detail that might help me improving my technique. I watched, observed, meditated, took notes, tried, tested, implemented, and the outcome? Nothing. I wasn't improving. I was stuck at the same point. Why? Why that? If you're watching this and other pump foil videos, you're likely to have the same problem, the same issue. You're likely to fall in the same black hole that I was in. Get out. I was failing exactly because of this constant research. I was getting on the board and I was so overwhelmed by all these informations that I couldn't do anything. I freeze. Think about it. How can we think about our feet placement, the arm swing, stay high on the mast, press with the back foot, don't press with the front foot, project your weight forward, and all these million things while we are flying over the water, while we are trying to not lose the balance? It's impossible. How can we process what's going on? Think about what we have to do and implement all at the same time while trying to stay balanced on a tiny board on top of the water. It's impossible, right? We're not computers. We cannot do that. It's humanly unfeasible. But then I found a solution. Instead of adding, I started removing. I removed all the non-fundamental informations, and I remained with only a few important key informations. This way, it's much easier to process the informations and put them into practice while we're on the board. So I remain with 5 things. The first one is the hope. We know that if the board has nothing on top of it, it tries. Even if it has just a small speed, if there is nothing on top, it tries. So we just have to release our weight, to detach ourselves from the board, to disappear from 1 second, and the board will rise. This is the first thing, because if we cannot get height on the mast, we cannot pump, of course. We will just touch the water. Forget the arms at the beginning. They are confusing. And if you're waving like a bird, it's harder to maintain the balance. So just focus on going weightless. Even if you're doing this weird movement with your arms, it's better a small weird movement with your arms than waving like an albatross. Because how can you maintain the balance if you're moving like this on the board? The second thing is the weight shift. Okay, with the first thing, we can gain height on the mast. But we also had to convert this height into actual forward momentum, otherwise we will just stall. How? By shifting our weight. So don't think about pressing or pushing with your front foot. Just think about it, right? If, for example, we have to draw this cure with a skateboard, okay? There is this ramp with a skateboard. If we want to gain speed on the descent, we have to shift our weight on the back foot to maximize this descent. And then, while we are on the bottom part, we have to shift our weight forward to maintain the momentum gained. And on the foil is the same principle. We have to shift our weight backwards on the descent and then shift it forward on the climb. It's not hard, and it's actually kind of natural while you're hopping, because yes, we are hopping, but if while we're hopping we also go a little bit forward, we are also shifting our weight. The only thing is that we have then to shift our weight on the back foot again on the descent, otherwise we will just stall. The third thing is to stay high on the mast. I know, I'm sick of it myself because I'm repeating it in every video, but it's so important. Not because of the mass drag, but the deeper we are in the water, the deeper the foil is in the water, the higher the density, right? So it's like if the foil is going against a wall instead of against the air. And in the air is the same principle. The aircrafts are flying high because the pressure is lower, so they requires less effort, less energy to proceed forward. And in the water is the same principle. The higher we are, the less drag we receive because the water is less dense. And this, as you can imagine, results in less effort to proceed, to move forward. And this is exactly what we want. We want less effort. We want to be more efficient. So it's important to stay very high on the mast. And this leads us to the next point, to the fourth point, which is keep the board flat. If we are tilting the board up a lot and down a lot, we are not keeping the foil high on the water, and we are also wasting a lot of energy. Again, it's a weight shift, not a push. Yes, if you want to shift your weight backwards, you kind of have to press a little bit on the back leg, but you don't want to push. You don't want to tilt your board towards the water. Just like you don't want to point it super up, because then you have to turn it again on the descent. So we want to try to keep the board kind of flat on the water. And the fifth thing, which I believe it's probably the most important, because it's helpful for all the previous 4 points, and nobody is talking about it, is to be sloppy, to be relaxed. I believe that for the pros it's kind of easy, it's natural, but for us beginners, it's so hard to be relaxed and to be flexible on the board. But it's so important, because if we're stiff, we're blocking the foil when it wants to rise, and maybe we are heavy when during the glide, so we are just losing height but without actually gaining speed. That's why it's so important to be light. Imagine that you are a sloppy kid in a skate park. You are so natural, so relaxed on your board with your oversized clothes, okay? Be relaxed. Be relaxed. Enjoy the ride. Feel the foil. Go along with it. Make this mindset shift. Focus on these few things, and I'm sure that you will improve faster than you used to do until now. All the rest comes natural, or it's of secondary importance. Yes, it's important to lift your back heel, but if you're hopping and shifting your weight forward, it's natural that you're lifting your back heel. Yes, it's important to swing the arms so that you're giving you the tempo and you're helping the hop. But again, it's kind of natural, because if you're hopping, you want to lift the arms. So then later on, when you have this leg movement dialed in, then you can kind of adjust this arm swing to be more fluent, more pleasant to the eye, and also more helpful and more melodic. I don't know how to say it. But all these things come after. If you're thinking about everything at the same time, it's not gonna work. So focus on the 5 most important things. If you want to know more about this topic and other topics, and basically everything that might help you in your pump foil journey, please check out my pump foil guide. If you want direct help, or if you feel the calling to help other beginner pump foilers, you can join my community. The link is in the description as well. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video is helpful, and see you on Monday in the evening, 7:30 UTC. Bye. I'm stalling all the time. If I'm stalling, it means that I'm losing speed. Why am I losing speed? Probably because I press on my back foot when the foil is still pointing up. I have to, if I give a stronger hope to try to make the board rise a little bit to stay high on the mast, I have to pitch the board back down before pressing on the back foot. Otherwise, I'm braking with the front wing. There we go. This one, at least at the beginning, was perfect. And I felt that the difference was that I was pushing myself forward while hopping. That's the key. Because if I'm just hopping up, I'm rising, but then I stall. But if I hop while moving a little bit forward, if I hop while pushing a little bit forward, I'm also angling the board down for the descent. I mean, not down, but at least it's flat, okay? Because if I'm hopping, the board is just going like this. If I'm hopping and transferring my weight on the front foot while hopping, I'm making the board rise, and I'm also making it flat again, so that I'm more efficient on the glide, and I can stay constantly high on the mast, because I don't have to go down a lot and up a lot with the board. And just that's what I mean when I say that the board has to be flat. Is this. Is transferring the weight while hopping, so that you are not pitching the board too much up and too much down. Despite I was incredibly low on the mast, I was almost touching the water at each pump. I wasn't sinking, I wasn't stopping, and I wasn't getting exhausted, just because I was keeping the board flat. Really, if you keep the board flat, you are so efficient compared to pitching it up and down all the time. Boom, boom. Keep it flat all the time, when you go up and when you go down. Hop, I found that to keep it flat when you go up, you really have to hop with both feet and push yourself a little bit forward, not only up, because the board, when nothing is on top of it, goes like this, like super up. So you want to push a little bit forward. You want to push a little bit yourself forward, so that you are contrasting this super angled up movement by keeping it more flat. You want the board to do like this, not like this, because if you do like this, then you have to do like this, and it's a waste of energy. Keep it flat. Keep it flat. To keep it flat, you have to hop forward. Hop forward. If you hop up, only up, the board is gonna go like this. If you hop while pushing yourself to the front, you can keep the board flat. And on the descent, press on the back foot. Transfer your weight on the back foot, so that you are keeping it flat. You are not pushing it down. So you are maximizing the glide. And the board is already flat, so you are not gonna waste energy to hop. Forward during the climb, backwards during the glide.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Gonna learn the consequence of being incompetent. Mental health is confidence, dreams and some honestness. I'm not here to save the day, that's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go, make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable.
Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages. A vacant, modern kingdom for the taking.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't want to swim for 5 minutes in cold water, so I had to come back. But I lose height, efficiency and speed during the turn. I will try to fix this issue and I will keep you updated so that you can fix this issue as well.
and if there is any expert in the viewers, please help us in the comments. Thank you.
Hold on, wait, I'm not a pro, not even close to that, but I've interviewed Yvonne. I've been pumping almost every day in the last 10 days. I had a great conversation with Pietro, one of the guys in the pump foiling community from Zurich, and also with some of the guys in my small community, the pump foiling club. So I found some new tips and tricks, and I wanted to pack them in a new video. But intermediate tips wasn't an appealing title, right? Anyway, I promise you will find value in this video, so stick until the end. Tip 1. Strive for the glide. Unfortunately, trying to pump as far as possible with a bad technique is not gonna take us anywhere. We learn how to pump longer and further, and we become more efficient only when we learn how to stay on the foil in such a way that the foil is not affected by our movement. The foil is free to go wherever he wants. If we don't have the right posture, if we're not using the right technique, we are hampering the foil ride. We are slowing it down. Instead, we have to strive for the glide. And by the way, this is the best, the most important exercise that we can do to learn how to pump with the right technique, how to pump properly. Because if we are constantly looking to glide, we have to pick up speed, pick up height on the mast, and then glide. So we learn how to pick up speed, we learn how to pick up height on the mast, and we learn how to glide efficiently, to maximize the glide. These are the basics, right? If we learn these three things, we can pump forever, right? The second tip is the decompression. I like to call it this way. And it's not one that I hope you won't have in your next flight. But if you take a look at my old videos, you will notice that I was super compressed. My board was close to the water. My knees were bent. I was leaning forward with my chest. My arms were in front. It was a very, very bad posture, right? And the thing is that if you are that compressed, there is a lot of weight on your legs, so you will burn out and you won't be able to pump longer. Instead, we have to decompress, we have to stretch, we have to stay upright, we have to stay high on the mast, to detach that board from the water, to straighten that legs, to open the chest. And the goal of these two first steps, it's actually the third step, which is take pressure out of those legs. It's so important that we decompress, that we strive for the glide, so that we can rest our legs even for a tiny little bit, even for 1 or 2 seconds. Even if we glide for 1 or 2 seconds and we can rest, we can extend fully our legs for a fraction of a second within each pump. It's so important because the efficiency comes from saving energy at each pump, saving a tiny little bit of energy at each pump. Because think about it, right? We have to pump for, I don't know, maybe 50 times, 100 times. If we can save a little bit of energy in each of these 100 pumps, we're gonna be so much more efficient in the end, right? You know, when you're running and maybe you are doing this zone training, so you're trying to keep your heart rate low in a certain range. Well, we wanna do the same with pump foiling. We wanna try to slow down the movements to save energy at each pump. We want to almost do things in slow motion so that we can save a tiny little bit of energy every time and we can keep our heart rate low. Because as soon as our heart rate starts rising, it's a compound effect. It skyrockets and we burn out, we die. So focus on the pump, lower the cadence maybe, and try to really feel and understand when the foil is gaining speed, when it's picking up height on the mast, and try to relax. Because in the end, it's just that. If you take a look at my videos, you will notice that often my hands are super stiff. And if my hands are like this, chances are that all my body is super stiff, I'm not relaxed, and I'm wasting energy. Imagine that. Imagine if your neck is super rigid, you are contracting your abs, your hands are like this. You're contracting a lot of muscles at the same time and you're wasting a lot of energy and you're skyrocketing your heart rate. We don't want that. We want to be super relaxed through all the pump. When we glide, when we pump, when we dock start, we want to be as relaxed as possible. I repeat it in all my videos, but it's important. What you gonna do? Oh, this is a good one, especially if you don't have an advanced fuselage. I'm pretty sure that it happens that you are pumping and then you are slowing down. You have 8 on the mast, but you can't gain speed. You are pumping. Maybe you think that you have the right technique, but you can't gain speed. Why that? Because I found that before hopping, before gaining 8 on the mast, we have to gain speed. And to gain speed, we have to extend our front leg so that we can pitch the nose a little bit down, and then we can press with our back leg to gain that speed. Because if we just press with our back leg, when the foil is still pointing up, we are gonna slow down. Before pressing with our back leg to gain speed, we have to extend our front leg so that we can pitch the nose down, and then we can press with our back leg to gain speed. Because if we just press with our back leg when the foil is still pointing up, we're gonna slow down, and that's it. We want to not press, we want to just extend our front leg first so that we can pitch the board a little bit down, and then we can press with our back leg to gain speed. And then we hop again, and then again, extend the front leg first, and then press with the back one. I'm still super bad at it, but we want to lock our knees and our hips as well when we are gliding. It's hard, because you really have to be relaxed on the board to be able to do so. But if when you glide, you can lock your knees, lock your hips, and lean maybe a little bit forward so that the board is perfectly horizontal, is perfectly flat over the water. That is the moments where you can really maximize the glide and glide for 10 meters instead of just gliding for 2 meters and stalling. With all the aforementioned tips, it really helps to have a small stab, a small board, and an advanced fuselage. What's the point of learning how to pump if in the end you're stuck at the same spot? I mean, you cannot expect to always have a nice dock wherever you're going, right? So you'd better learn how to rock start as soon as possible so that you can really break free and start from everywhere. And you have a couple of months, 2 months, to learn it before the start of the summer, so that you can go to the sea and start from everywhere. Wherever you are, you just take your foil, you start, and you go exploring. Let's dive into it. So first thing first, the dock start and the pumping should be like natural movements for you at this point. Otherwise, you're really gonna have a hard time learning how to rock start. So really work on your dock start until you have a success ratio of about 6, 7 out of 10 starts. You can check the pump foil guide if you haven't yet, the link is in the description below, to know the exact technique that I suggest and the step-by-step process to get to the perfect technique. Believe me, if you learn how to dock start the way I explain it inside the guide, you are probably going to be able to start from the rock at the first or at the second session. So the second step is just to remove that little step that you are doing in that dock start technique and go from this step, jump to a simple jump. You're gonna have less speed when you land on the board, so it's important that you keep the board very high, you give an explosive push with your legs, and you are super gentle with the landing. With foils, with a nice low speed lift, you're gonna have time to let the board stabilize, and then you can hop and start the pumping movement. But with faster foils, you're gonna have to pump and to hop straight away, straight after you land on the board, and then immediately pitch the board down to start gaining speed. Perhaps the most important thing of this start is how you distribute your weight on the board with your hands before jumping on the board. First off, you have to give this little push, otherwise the board is not gonna have any lift. And then actually you can press with your backhand because there is a mass there and there is lift. So you really have the possibility of taking a little bit of the work of your legs by helping yourself by leaning on the board and pressing a little bit on your backhand. If you pay attention at my hands placement, you will notice that I place my hands in such a way to make it as easy as possible for me to land on the board. So my arms are not obstructing my jump. If you're not that consistent with the dog start yet, I really recommend you to practice these movements on land. So you just have to look for a wall like 60-70 centimeter high, and then you have just to practice this jump. You place your hands, you move your hands, and you jump on it without falling, possibly. When you are doing this exercise, after the jump, it's important to hold that squat position, to really train your muscle memory to keep that position. This is very important because when you land on the board, you want to stay a little bit there to let the board stabilize, if you can. If you have a fast foil, probably you don't have time to do so. If you're struggling with this exercise, you should probably work on your flexibility. Stretch your hip flexors. Once you're pretty consistent with this static start from the dock, well, you're almost there. It's time to find the right rock. Let's go. So let me show you how the perfect rock looks like. So this is the rock that I usually use, and essentially you want to make sure that you have at least one steep side. If you have like two, steep side is even better. It's going to be easier to hold the board closer to your body. Then make sure that it's deep enough. Right now it's a little bit shallow because the tide is pretty low, so I would risk to hit my foil, to hit the seabed with my foil. But yeah, of course you shouldn't have any rock in front of you, otherwise you're gonna hit it with your foil. This, on the other hand, it's not a good example because it's not steep, so you're gonna have to keep your foil further away from your body and it's gonna be harder to jump on it. This one, again, it's not a good option because look there, you have a rock right in front of you. This one is not that bad because still you have a steep side there, but you have a few rocks around. I don't know if you can see them from the camera, and also the space, the area that you have on the rock to stand on, it's pretty limited. This one is absolutely a no-go because it's not steep at all. Also, this one is not steep and you have other rocks underneath. This one is not that bad because you have two steep sides. You just have to be careful of that rock there, and you don't have a lot of flat surface on top to stand on. Of course, not always it's possible, but you should try to have a look at the spot to spot the right rocks before, so from above, so you really have the possibility to see the rocks around. This one is not that bad because it's pretty big, pretty steep. You just have to be careful because there are a bunch of rocks down there. This one is submerged, so it's gonna be harder, way harder to start, but not impossible. And after that, you don't have anything, so it's kind of okay. This one is very good on one hand because you don't have anything in front and you have like two, almost three very steep sides. But on the other hand, you literally have almost no surface to stand on, so it's gonna be harder to maintain the balance while you're holding the board. It's gonna be harder to push while you're jumping on the board. This one is almost perfect, if not perfect, because you have two steep sides, you don't have much in front, and you have a little bit of surface. Okay, not much surface to stand on, but still should be good. This one is good, but it's submerged, so maybe it's good if you have a little bit of experience and you want to practice from submerged rocks. And that one is absolutely a no-go because it's not steep at all, so you cannot stand there and start there. Yes, I'm picky, and ideally we should be able to start from every rock, but again, we're trying to learn, right? So it's better to spend a little bit of time, to invest a little bit of time in finding the right rock. Oh, and when you're looking for the rock, you should also consider how easy or how difficult it is to get on top of the rock again once you fail, because it's very important at the beginning. The easier it is to get on top of the rock, the better, the faster is gonna be your learning process. That first rock that I showed you is like perfect because you have a 1 meter deep sandy seabed. I almost forgot to mention that, of course, with a longer fuse and a bigger sub, it's gonna be easier because the board is gonna be stable. So you wanna pump for 5 minutes, but after 40 seconds, your BPM is like 190 and your back leg is on fire. Listen up, because I'm going to explain you exactly how I went from getting exhausted after 40 seconds to pump for more than 5 minutes in less than 1 month. There are technical factors and external factors, but let's start from the technical first. The first thing that I changed is my position on the board.
How much is cost this?
This and the whole set 2.5.
2.500, ja?
Yeah.
Ja, genau. Das ist ein Stück, ist nicht Banglet electric. Ja, das ist easy to go?
No, this one is not electric, so it's a little bit tricky to go.
Oh, this is no electric?
No, you have to
this
use.
is these clampings, yeah?
Yeah. I used to try to stay as upright as possible on the board because I thought that this way I would put less pressure on my legs. But I was wrong, because when I started contracting my abs, I was actually more efficient. I thought it was because this way I was less rigid with my back and with my neck. But by discussing with some guys in the community, we found out that in reality it's because by contracting your abs, you are able to better transfer your weight on the foil. The second thing is to be relaxed. But what does that mean? We always say that we have to be relaxed, but what does that mean in practice? For me, being relaxed means like enjoying the ride like fully. You have to be connected with the foil, connected with the board, connected with the water. You have to feel everything, to be completely immersed, present in that moment. You have to enjoy every single part of the ride, and believe me that this way you're not gonna have an involuntary muscle contraction. The third thing is the feet placement, and it's not just about keeping your feet shoulder width apart, it's also rotating your toes towards the nose. It might sound stupid, but this way it's gonna be much easier to transfer your weight in the front. So when you're gonna hop, you're gonna transfer your weight in the front for the descent, so you're gonna project yourself forward. The fourth technical tip that I have for you is the pump and glide drill. Believe me, if you give 4, 5, 6 pumps and then you can glide for 1, 1.5, 2 seconds, those 2 seconds are vital, because our legs start burning just because we keep pumping blood there without giving them enough time to rest. The fifth tip, and perhaps the most important, is just go out there and pump. I was able to improve my technique so much just because I was out there more than 10 hours per week. For what concerns the external factors, first off, not having a wetsuit is game changer. Not because of the weight, but because you can really breathe fully. Because the wetsuit is really compressing you, especially thick wetsuits, like winter wetsuits, you're really compressed. If you go out there, you pump for 40 seconds, you're exhausted, and then you try to rest, and you have your wetsuit on, you will notice that it's gonna take you much more time to recover. On the other hand, if you don't have the wetsuit, if you pump for 40 seconds, let's say that your technique is not perfect, but still, after those 40 seconds, you're gonna recover in 1 minute, something like that. And the same principle applies while you are on foil. If you can breathe fully, if you can really expand our lunges, we can keep our heart rate much lower. At first, I didn't realize this, but after talking to some guys on foilers in Zurich, we found out that pumping in shallow water is actually easier because you have something below you. So you are not pushing against other water. You're pushing against some water, but then below the water there is a seabed. I mean, the seabed is closer. So it's like if one pump is more efficient because you are touching something. You are pushing against something. And yes, the gear plays a huge role too. The smaller, lighter board, the stiffer mast, the more high aspect front wing, all these things together really helps achieve the perfect technique. So yeah, this way I pumped for 5 minutes. But believe it or not, at the end I was kind of disappointed because yes, it was cool, yes, it's a nice achievement, but it's kind of boring, especially if you're on the same spot. If you're exploring, if you're free-foiling, that's one thing. It's cool to be able to pump for 5-10 minutes. But if you're in your spot, it's just more fun to connect waves or go downwind, right? That's why I see long-distance pumping more as a training for other sports rather than a sport itself. Now you have all what you need. Go out there and it's your turn to pump for 5 minutes or more.
In the last few months, I've been only training the beach start, the rock start, the static start, and I completely forgot to pump long distances. I was so focused on getting a sharp start because I really wanted to be sharp at starting from anywhere that I completely forgot to practice long distance pumping. And I just realized that I got worse at that. And it's not because of the stamina, not because of the cardio, because still, I've been doing some cardio on the side, outside of the water. So it's not that. You know, when you want to pump long distances, you don't necessarily need to have a huge cardio. That's not the most important part. The most important part is the precision. You have to be super precise with what you're doing with your entire body. So I have some tips that I can give you to improve your long distance pumping. So watch this video until the end, and I promise that 2 weeks from now you will double your time in the water. Unless you're doing fucking 4 hours, but I don't think you're watching this video at that point. So watch this video. I like numbers. No, that's not true. I hate numbers, but I would say that long distance pumping, I mean efficient pumping, is like 20% cardio, 5% arm swing, and the other 75% is just technique. It's just precision. But what do I mean by that? So there are the first thing, the most important thing probably is that you have to pick up speed. You have to reach the cruising speed as soon as possible. Because if you don't keep your foil at the cruising speed, at its cruising speed, you will be so much more inefficient. So gain that speed as soon as possible and work on maintaining that speed. But of course, if you really want to maintain that speed, you have to work on your precision. You have to be super precise with your body. And the only way to do that is by going out there and practicing. There is no other option. So if you think that by going for a run, instead of going into the water, you will pump longer, that's not how it works. Let me tell this to you. Go out there in the water whenever you can. Of course, if you cannot, if you're in the mountains, you don't have your foil with you, okay, of course, going for a run is better than doing nothing. But your main priority, your main activity should just be to pump as much as possible. As I said, this arm swing is just about, in my opinion, 5% of the movement. It just makes you 5% more efficient. So if you're just going for a little trip, a round trip, a 1 minute trip, it doesn't really matter. It's not really necessary. But if you're really trying to be as efficient as possible, then it's useful to implement this arm swing. And mind you, I'm not waving my arms like a bird. It's a super gentle movement. I like to keep my arms close to my body and to just swing them a little bit. Just again to help me relieve the weight off the board and then press again down to generate speed. And to give me the cadence. It allows me to stay consistent. Then I've always said that it's good to practice the pump and glide drill to become efficient with gliding, gaining height and generating speed. But I also think that on the other hand, if you really want to be as efficient as possible, we should try to stay high on the mast for as long as possible. And if you're pumping and gliding, we are not really always high on the mast, and we not always have the right cruising speed. So we are not at the maximum possible efficiency. However, I also think that if sometimes you just take 2 seconds, maybe even just every 30 seconds, you just take 2 seconds to glide, to reset a bit your mind, to reset your feet placement, to just relax for a split second, for a moment, that's gonna be beneficial. And together with speed, you need to stay as high as possible on the mast. Okay, don't breach, possibly, but it's important to be precise and to keep the foil always close to the surface. Because if you really are able to keep the speed and keep that height, you will be 50% more efficient. It's incredible. It's all about that at the end of the day. It's all about that. It's all about keeping the speed and the height consistently. And if you're able to do that, you will double your distance. Okay, Gael, but how the hell can we keep the foil super high, super close to the surface without breaching? don't look at your foil. I used to do that. I used to constantly look at my foil to try to understand how much could I go higher. But that's not how you should do, because you completely lose the focus and the balance. You should try to feel it, because you cannot always watch your feet placement or your foil, because you're gonna crash sooner or later. You have to try to feel it. What do I mean by that? So you start, right? You generate speed and you pick up that height. At the beginning, it's easy to gain height, isn't it? It is, because you have a lot of energy, right? But the more you go on, the more you realize that you will start losing height on the mast. This is because your legs start burning, your legs become heavier. And because of that, you are not really sloppy, you're not really relaxed with your legs. And because of that, you don't allow the board to rise a lot. So you're just, maybe you're generating speed, because you're pressing it down, you're pitching it down, but you are not really generating height. Because again, you are not really relaxed and you don't allow the board to rise underneath your feet. So the most important thing that you need to focus on is to be sloppy all the time. So try to relax, try to feel what's going on underneath your feet. If you really focus on the feeling, if you close your eyes and you really focus on what your foil is doing, you will understand what you need to do. It's I don't know. I know it's not the best piece of advice that I can give you, because it's kind of metaphorical. I don't know. It's not practical, but it is what it is. The more you practice, the more time you spend out there, and the more you will understand the feeling underneath your feet, and the more you will understand how to keep it high, how to keep it efficient. Really, close your eyes and try to understand what are you doing when the foil is more efficient. What are you doing when pumping is effortless? And then remember that feeling. Remember that movement that you did, and try to replicate it as much as possible for as long as possible. In terms of training, I mean, how I organize my session, if I really want to practice and improve long distance pumping, is kind of like what I do in the gym. You know, in the gym we want to grow muscles, right? We want to build muscles. And to do that, we are doing a set with a bunch of reps and a certain weight. And then we are resting for a specific amount of time, either a half rest, either a full rest, a full recovery. And then we are starting again with another set, with the same weight, with another weight, with the same reps, it doesn't really matter. Now, with foiling, we cannot really adjust the weight, because it's always the same. But we can adjust the reps, so the length of the sets, and the recovery in between the sets. So what I really like to do is to pump, right, and not go until exhaustion. So if, for example, 10 is exhaustion, you should, in my opinion, stop at 7 or 8. Then you rest for 1 minute, 1 minute and a half. It depends on how good you are at recovering. And then you start again for another set. And again, you don't reach your limit. You don't reach the 10 out of 10. Why that? Because you don't really want to burn yourself out for the next set. Because we don't want to go as far as possible in the single launch, in the single set. We want to go as far as possible. We want to pump the biggest distance possible in the entire session. And the way we do that is by not burning ourselves out in every set, because otherwise your performance will decrease like crazy. But if you always stop at, let's say, 7 out of 10, maybe even 8 out of 10, okay, your performance will slightly decrease the following set, but not drastically. It's going to be just a little decrease. In terms of what I'm doing with the Cyrus XL and the Cyrus L Stab, the 77 mast and the Clever 80, I'm usually pumping for around 2 minutes, 2 minutes and a half, maybe 2.5 minutes the first set, and then I'm slightly decreasing, and I pump for around 10 sets, with 1 minute, 1 minute and a half in between sets. And in my opinion, that's probably the best training that you can do. And mind you, I say that your performance will decrease set by set, but it's not necessarily true, because the more you practice, the more time you spend in the water, and yes, maybe you will get tired, but you will also get more efficient. because you will really understand the movements. You will really understand how to keep the foil as high as possible in the water and to keep that speed. If you have a look at the recordings, you will notice that I give these quick, small pumps. Because again, I want to try to save energy. And I want to try to keep the foil as high as possible for as much time as possible. That's pretty much all I had to share with you. My camera is dying, my SD is almost full, the sun is setting, so I'd better just close this video. I really appreciate your time. You can subscribe to this channel if you really want more tips, and you can also download the free pump foil guide that I've created for you to have everything that you need to learn pump foiling and progress in one document. And if you're really struggling, if you really need help, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and to send me your recordings, and I will analyze your movements and I will try to help you out as much as I can. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Ciao.
This is kind of like my revenge. Better beach, right gear. I'm gonna do some land training. I'm gonna go step by step and I'm gonna get this easily. I watched again Gwen's tutorial and I'm gonna follow the steps. Pretty nice drop, not the best, not the worst. Hold the board, run, move hands, lean, chest up, back leg, front hand pressure, front leg, place your feet up. Hold the board, run, move your hands, lean, front hand pressure, back leg, front leg, place your feet nicely up. I have to remember to move my back hand more towards the front as soon as I place my back foot on the board. So it's gonna be something like this, up. I'm gonna practice this a bit, then I'm gonna practice the run, then I'm gonna practice gliding with only the front foot on the pad, and then gliding with both feet on the board, hopefully without falling on my wings. No jokes, this is way easier than you think, and it's not even dangerous if you follow the steps. But yeah, just like all the other starts, you have to disassemble the action in smaller, more digestible movements, and you have to practice them one by one. I didn't do it in the first session. In the second session, that's why I got injured. But if you follow the steps, believe me, it's gonna be super simple. Chances are that you will get it at the first or at the second session. So follow the steps and crush it. I just want to mention that if I was able to succeed, it's just because of Gwen's tutorial. And this video is gonna be kind of similar to that, because those are the steps, but still, I will add my little tips. First thing first, guess what? The right gear. Last time I got injured because I was using a foil which was too small for my level in the beach start, the Curate 6XL. But this time I used the Service XL and the Service L stab, and it was fantastic. Super easy, super low hand, and super stable thanks to the longer fuse and the bigger stab. So essentially, the smaller the board, the easier. The bigger the stab, the easier. The longer the fuse, the easier. The bigger the front wing, the easier. But until a point, I still do prefer way more these high aspect wings rather than these kind of bulky, clumsy mid aspect wings. We need a wing with a very good low end, so the volume is crucial, the thickness is crucial. Don't start with a super thin wing, even though it has a big span. Don't get into the beach start if you barely know how to dock start. But if you learn the dock start the way I explain it to you in the pump foil guide, which by the way is for free and is the first link in the description below, it's gonna be super easy because it's essentially the same process. And if you also know how to rock start, it's gonna be super simple. If you know how to rock start, I believe that you will get it at the first session, no jokes. The other thing that was preventing me from succeeding was the spot. I was sticking to this beach, but it was super crowded first of all, and then the foreshore wasn't linear. It was flat, then it had this drop, and then it was flat again. So it was super hard. This time, the spot was just perfect. Super linear, no sudden drop, no waves, and after 5-6 steps, the water was reaching your knees. I was running parallel to the foreshore, but I wasn't starting from outside the water, I was starting from inside, where the water was at my ankle level. Another thing that really helped, that I didn't do in the first and in the second session, was the wall drill. This really helps to warm up your muscles, to get the movement, and also to stretch a bit in the meantime. And of course, I also stretched a little bit at the beginning. After the wall drill, the way I would suggest you to learn it is in 3 steps. Step 1, you run, and then you lean on the board with your chest on the board, and you glide as far as possible. My run is 3 steps because I believe that with these big wings is more than enough. And the other important thing about this step is that you practice the hand switch. So first you're holding the board and then you're placing your feet on top of it. Just like in Gwen's tutorial, the second step is to step on the board with your back foot only. So again, you run 3 steps while you're switching your hands from the edges to the pad. Then you step on the board with your back foot only and you try to glide. You will notice that if you don't put pressure on your front hand, the board will rise. But if you want to glide, if you want to glide straight, you will have not only to put a lot of pressure on your front hand, but you will also have to move a bit your backhand from the tail more towards the front. It's going to be kind of natural, but it's super important because if you have both hands closer to the nose, it's going to be easier to put more pressure on the front. Now, my foil is very big, has a lot of lift. So perhaps with other foils, it's not going to be the case. I also noticed that sometimes I'm placing my backhand in the middle of the board directly at the beginning, directly during the run. It's kind of subconscious. If you practice the second step a lot of times, the third step is not going to be hard. You just have to bring your front foot up. And you already have your front foot up, you already have your chest up, so the majority of the weight is already on the board. You just have to place your foot in the right spot. It's not super easy because still you are in this uncomfortable position. And you have to transfer your weight because right now your hands are pushing the nose down. Then you have to switch from this hand pressure to this foot pressure, and that's super important because if you don't time it correctly, the board will pitch up. If you remove your hands before you place your front foot, the board will rise and you will stall. And by the way, that's dangerous because you always want to fall in front of the board, never behind the board. First of all, because you risk that you're breaking the stab. If you're falling like this, maybe you're gonna break the stab. But if you always fall in front, you're not gonna break the stab and you're not gonna hit the foil because you're gonna fall in front of the foil. And it's impossible that the foil is gonna hit you after you fall in front. So it's better to touch with your front wing than with your stab. And I think that at this point I can also give you some tips on how to prevent injuries. And one of them is to fall with a wide stance. So that's you're not gonna step on the foil or on the stab. And of course you have to keep your board far away from your body. Far away from your body. And if you're on the board already and you feel that you're unstable, the foil is not completely flat, it's rolling, just eject. Just push with your legs the foil as far away as possible from your body. That's how you prevent injuries. And if you do these things, if you do these two things, if you don't try to save the impossible, because come on, you know when you're wrong. So just eject. Don't be stubborn. Be humble, eject, and if you do these steps, and if you're humble, if you're not stubborn, it is not gonna be dangerous. Chances are that after a couple of trials, you will find yourself on the board, magically. And at that point, you should stabilize, glide a bit, and then get into pumping movement. But if you don't have a lot of speed, you might want to hop right away to gain a little bit of height on the mast and immediately press on the front so that you can generate speed. But don't press too much because you don't have speed. So if you press too much, you will just stall. So still, be gentle. With my last beach start video, I kinda scared you, but I hope that with this one, you are more reassured and you are ready to go there and practice this thing. And if you're ready, you can download the beach start guide, which is in my pump foil guide, and the link is in the description below for free. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao.
As you probably know, recently I've been to Switzerland and there I had the chance to pump with some of the best pump foilers in the entire world. And I'm not even joking. I pumped with Seb Soji. You probably don't know him, but you've probably seen him because he's the guy that always appears in every single Yvonne's video on YouTube. Then I pumped with Balz Müller, the crazy windsurfer. I think that he doesn't need an introduction. And then I pumped with Robert, that crazy little young kid doing all this incredible stuff, freestyle on foil. And also the Ketos team, incredible riders. And of course, as a good YouTuber, as a good reporter, I took notes and now I'm packing all the knowledge that I gathered in those 3 days in this video. So stick until the end because after this video, 9 out of 10, you're gonna improve your technique like by 50%. The first tip that I have for you is the feet placement. Yes, we always talk about the feet placement, back foot on top of the mast and front foot shoulder width apart, more towards the front, and then maybe you can take it a bit more towards the back. But I've never thought about how your feet are in the vertical axis. So if you have like the board in front of you, then how your feet are positioned on the vertical axis, right? On the y-axis. Because they shouldn't be in the middle. And I've noticed that every single pro has a little bit of a wider stance. Why that? Because so you need to rotate your shoulder a little bit towards the direction where you're going, of course, when you're pumping, right? That's why if you place, for example, your back foot, in my case, is gonna be the left foot because I'm goofy, more towards the edge, more towards the left edge of the board, and your my right foot, my front foot, more towards the right edge of the board, is gonna be easier to rotate my shoulder towards the front. And this way, it's gonna be easier to evenly spread the workload on both my legs. That's a super small adjustment, but can really relieve a little bit of effort at each pump. So try that. Instead of placing your feet exactly in the center, in the middle of the board, try to spread them a little bit. Again, if this is the board, right, you want to spread your feet a little bit. So for example, if you are goofy, you're going to spread them like this. If you're regular, you're going to spread them like this. Hopefully you understood that. And yeah, it's probably also a matter of stability. You are more stable on the board. It's more natural to rotate your shoulder towards the front. And because, you know, I watched some of the recordings, and in my case, when my feet were exactly in the middle of the board, I had the tendency to fix it, to keep steady my front leg and then just pump with my back leg. And of course you shouldn't do that, because otherwise you get tired quickly, you're not efficient. So try that, it's gonna be very helpful, I believe. The second tip that I have for you is kind of a consequence of the first one. I mean, they are kind of tightened together, which is use both legs evenly. Again, if you have a look at my recordings, sometimes, especially if I'm tired, I have this tendency that I lock my front leg and then I'm just pumping with my back leg. Or I lock my back leg and I'm just pumping with my front leg. Just to try to go on. And maybe you can keep the speed, but for sure you cannot gain height, because if you're not hopping, if you're not sloppy, if you're not relaxed, you really cannot gain height, and you're gonna burn out. Because if you lock one of your legs, then you're gonna just use the other one and you're gonna burn out very, very soon. This is not an efficient way to pump. That's why you should always remind yourself that you have to make the movement as similar as possible to a squat. It's not gonna be a squat, because still you have to have this little delay between front leg and the back leg when you pump, otherwise you cannot give like the wave. But keep in mind that you should always spread the effort evenly in your legs. The first tip, if you implement the first tip, that's gonna help already, but remind yourself that, you know, I think that it could help is to remind yourself to not go inside with your back leg, because if your back knee goes inside, you're not gonna be using evenly your legs. You're not gonna evenly spread the workload on both your legs. So try to, you know, again, to have this squat movement in mind, so that you can translate it when you're pumping. Okay, so keep this in mind, because that's super important to be efficient and pump longer. The third tip that I have for you is often overlooked, because we are so focused on keeping the height on the mast that we forget about the speed, because the speed is the first factor if you want to stay up on foil and to be efficient. And of course, the more speed you have, the easier it's going to be to get higher on the mast. And if you have a look at the pros, when they're pumping, they're always seeking for speed. Before they even seek for height on the mast, they are seeking for speed. So keep this in mind and try to gain speed as soon as possible as you hop on the board, and then just keep it. Because the more you can keep that speed, that cruising speed, the more efficient you're going to be. The higher on the mast you're going to stay. I've seen this especially with Seb Soji. You can see from the recordings that he's aggressive. He's seeking for speed. He's in this forward direction. He's projected forward. He's seeking speed. He's fast, especially when he's pumping against the current. It might seem that you're gonna waste more energy, but that's not the case, because you waste energy when you lose speed. So if you can spend a bit more effort, you can invest a bit more effort into keeping that speed, into seeking for a high speed, then you're not gonna lose speed to gain speed. You know what I mean, right? You understand that? I hope you get the point. You know the fourth one. All pros have one thing in common. They are all spending a ton of time in the water. They are out nearly every day. If not every day, every other day. But they are in the water 2 to 3 to 4 hours every session. That makes a difference. I know that not everybody has the possibility to spend so much time in the water, but if you really want to improve, if you really want to get to achieve a nice level, that's what it takes. You need to be out there as much as you can. There is another thing that they all have in common, which is that they're always trying new stuff. If they learn something, they master something, they keep doing that thing, but still they're always striving for something more, for a new trick, for a new distance record, for a new wave record. They're always striving for something. They're always trying new stuff, and they're failing in the meantime in doing so. So we should learn from that. We should never stop learning new stuff, and we shouldn't be discouraged if we fail, because even them, even at the top level, even at 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, whatever that is, they're still failing because they are challenging themselves with new stuff. So do the same. The sixth tip is extreme naturalness. I don't even know if that's a word, but I believe you got the point, right? So that's kind of a consequence of spending a ton of time in the water, but you will notice that they're so natural, especially in the start. They're doing everything in such a, smooth way. They're so smooth in everything they do, and we should try to achieve the same. Extreme relaxation, a lot of confidence, a lot of focus. That's very important, and that's all it takes to achieve this naturalness, this relaxation in all you're doing. And if you can achieve that, you're gonna increase a lot your success rate in the start and your distance, because the more relaxed you are, the further you can go. The last tip is specifically from Robert. He gave me an incredibly valuable tip, which is stick to one set until you become so bloody good with that set that you can pump any other set. Again, these tips are all connected to each other, and if you stick to one set, you're gonna become super natural with it. It's gonna be your baby. It's gonna be like walking. You have your legs, so you know how it feels like walking. And if you would use like someone else's legs, that's a kind of a weird, creepy example, but imagine that, right? If you always change, the length of your legs, you kind of have to learn from scratch to run, let's say, for example. So stick to one set, one single set, don't even change the stab until you become so good at it that you can do everything with that set, and then you can, try new stuff, switch to a faster set, and all these kind of things. And in this note, maybe you're wondering, so what set should I get to stick to? Well, just don't miss the next video, because I'm gonna officially present my new set, which is, I believe, right now, the best that you can get probably in the market. I hope this was valuable as much as it was for me. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and do not miss the next video.
Congratulations, you are one of the few who made it to the end. Now you have all the tools you need to become a proficient pump foiler in no time. However, if you feel like you need some direct help, you can check the first link in the description below. Thank you and good luck.